Welcome to Cinematic Excrement. At long last, we have come to the end of the Twilight saga. And what a long, strange trip it's been. As some of my longtime viewers will note, Twilight was the focus of my very first episode of Cinematic Excrement in November 2009. It was a hell of a movie to start a review series with, but I had a lot of fun tearing it to pieces, and the people who watched the review seemed to enjoy it as well. Since I had so much fun with it, I decided to take a look at the sequel, New Moon, the following year, with even more hilarious results, and Eclipse and Breaking Dawn Part 1 would eventually follow. While these reviews have never been my most popular, at least in terms of view count, they do tend to elicit the most feedback and appear to be the most anticipated by the fans. I get review requests all the time for all manner of different movies, but anytime a new Twilight movie hits theaters, my inbox and comment pages will inevitably be flooded by requests to review it. Which I'm happy to do because, let's face it, when it comes to the Twilight saga, the jokes pretty much write themselves. If you're watching this video, you've probably already seen my previous reviews of these films, but just in case you haven't, here's a quick recap of the Twilight saga. First, there was Twilight, where we were introduced to Isabella Swan, a self-absorbed, emotionless bitch. She fell in love with Edward Cullen, a sparkly vampire who becomes her creepy, overprotective stalker boyfriend. And there was a very brief conflict with an evil vampire that was shoved in at the end of the movie, and Edward and his family killed him. That's about it. Then there was New Moon. Edward broke up with Bella, and she was sad. Then they got back together, and she was happy. I think. Her facial expression never really changes, it's hard to tell. And this other guy, Jacob, turned into a bad CGI werewolf and developed an aversion to shirts. That's about it. Then came Eclipse. Victoria, the mate of the evil vampire who was responsible for the last-minute conflict in the first movie, raised an army of sparkly vampires to take her revenge on Bella for killing her mate. It didn't go well. Oh, and Jacob briefly went all rapey and tried forcing himself on Bella, and she punched him in the face and hurt herself. It was hilarious. That's about it. And most recently, we had Breaking Dawn Part 1. Bella and Edward got married, and he somehow knocked her up, even though he's technically dead. Bella gave birth to a baby girl who she named Renesmee, yes, really, and died in childbirth. But she got better. And Jacob fell in love with the newborn. Yes, really. Between Twilight and That's My Boy, I really hope pedophilia is not going to become a running theme. And say it with me now, that's about it. Somehow these movies took about 8 hours to portray what I just described in about 90 seconds. Needless to say, it was an incredibly boring, although sometimes hilarious, 8 hours. The last movie in particular was so boring, many doctors have begun prescribing it to patients who suffer from chronic insomnia. And now, after over 4 years, we have finally reached the end of what some would call the worst love story ever. Okay, the worst fictional love story ever. And this final entry in the series is very special indeed, for it is the first to take home the Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Picture of the Year. It's shocking, I know, but never before have the Razzie voters deemed a Twilight film worthy of Worst Picture honors. Eclipse and Breaking Dawn Part 1 were both nominated, but lost to The Last Airbender and Jack and Jill respectively. New Moon didn't get a Worst Picture nomination, although it was nominated in 4 other categories, and Twilight wasn't nominated for a single Razzie in any category. Don't ask me to explain that one. In fact, the only Twilight Saga film to win a Razzie up to this point was Eclipse, which won Worst Supporting Actor for Jackson Rathbone. Breaking Dawn Part 2, however, really cleaned house at the Razzies this year, with 11 nominations and 7 wins. Worst Actress for Kristen Stewart, Worst Supporting Actor for Taylor Lautner, Worst Director for Bill Condon, Worst Screen Couple for Lautner and Mackenzie Foy, ew, Worst Screen Ensemble for the entire goddamn cast, Worst Remake, Ripoff, or Sequel, and the aforementioned Worst Picture. But while it may have been declared the worst picture of 2012, does that necessarily mean it's the worst picture in the Twilight saga? I guess it's time we found out. Breaking Dawn Part 2 picks up right where Part 1 left off, with Bella waking up as a newborn sparkly vampire. And apparently vampire eyes have zoom lenses. Pretty sure that was never mentioned in the previous film, so it looks like the trend of making shit up as we go along is still alive and well. She wakes up with an uncontrollable thirst for blood, so Edward takes her on her first hunt. She's about to snack on a tasty deer. Run, Bambi, run! When suddenly she smells the blood of a human mountain climber several miles away. Physics? Biology? Nature? Just take the laws of every science and throw them right out the window. We don't need them, cause this is Twilight, bitch. Edward manages to stop Bella before she feasts on some fresh mountaineer, and she takes a flying leap off the mountain into the woods below. Okay, what the hell? Are we now claiming that vampires are unaffected by gravity and can dive off mountains without so much as a scratch? If she was diving into the sea, I could let it go, but all I see below her are trees and rocks. In any case, Bella turns her attention back to the deer until a mountain lion shows up and she tackles the big cat in midair. That is fucking hilarious. After the hunt, Bella returns home and is finally introduced to her holy mother of Jesus on a pogo stick with a side order of curly fries. What is that? Why is the baby CGI? Was George Lucas a technical advisor for this movie? Could they not find a real baby? I understand they wanted the baby to be able to reach out and touch Bella's face, but that would only require CGI on that one shot. That's it. They didn't have to dive face first into the uncanny valley. Anyway, since she's part vampire, Renesmee has her own X-Men power. In her case, she has the ability to share her memories by touching people.
She showed you the first memory she has of you.
Showed me how.
How do I hear thoughts? How does Alice see the future?
We're 5 movies in, we've never explained this shit before, why start now? And speaking of explaining shit, Jacob now has the unfortunate task of telling Bella he imprinted on Renesmee shortly after she was born. All things considered, Bella takes the news surprisingly well.
Do you remember how much you wanted to be around me 3 days ago? That's gone now, right?
Long gone.
Because it was her. From the beginning, it was Nessie who wanted me there.
Nessie? You nicknamed my daughter after the Loch Ness Monster?
Bella, you named her Renesmee. You didn't exactly give him much to work with. Jacob tries to reassure Bella that it's not like that. Really, I'm not a pedophile, I swear! After delivering a few solid right hands, which Edward finds incredibly amusing, Bella calms down and accepts her daughter's wolfy fate. Well, so much for that conflict. But another problem soon rears its ugly head. Charlie. At some point, they will have to tell him Bella succumbed to her illness. Unfortunately, they can't risk her being seen once they claim she's dead, which means they will have to leave Forks. Of course, they also said they had to leave at the beginning of New Moon, and they dropped that plot point by the end of the movie with no explanation. Jacob, however, is far too impatient to wait until the end of this movie, so he pays Charlie a visit to solve this problem himself. And how does he solve it? By taking his clothes off. Right in front of him. In broad daylight.
What the hell are you doing?
Fan service, what's it look like?
Now, this may seem strange. Really strange. But stranger things happen every day.
After revealing himself to be a werewolf, or at least a werewolf by Twilight standards, Jacob explains that Bella survived her illness, but to do so, she had to change. That's as specific as he gets. But even though he didn't totally reveal their secret, Bella and Edward aren't happy with what Jacob has done.
Did you consider the physical pain you'll put Bella through? It'll be like sticking a white-hot branding iron down her throat, and that's assuming she can control her thirst. Did you consider the physical pain?
No, you don't have to play it again. I got it. Oh, you glittery douche nozzle. The physical pain you'll put Bella through? Fuck Bella! What about Charlie? What about the pain you're gonna put him through? The pain he's already been through? Did you ever think about that, you diseased heap of rat rectum? This man has loved and cared for his daughter ever since she arrived in Forks. Sure, he's not a perfect father, I don't think there is such a thing, but given the circumstances, I'd say he's done a damn good job. Not once have I ever doubted that he truly loved Bella and would do anything for her. And in exchange for his love, Bella has done nothing but treat him like absolute shit. Remember the time she up and left him with little warning in the first movie? Or the time she up and left him with no warning in the second? And now, after the last few weeks of putting the poor bastard through hell while he worried about his daughter's health and well-being, sorry Charlie, your daughter has died at the ripe old age of 18 and you will never see her again. Imagine what that's going to do to the poor man. And not just him, what about Bella's mother? And her stepfather? And her friends? You think they might be just a bit broken up by her passing? But no, they're apparently not the ones we should be concerned with. We should only be concerned with Bella. We should care about Bella's pain, because that's pretty much been the theme for this entire saga, hasn't it? It's all about what Bella wants. It's all about what Bella thinks. Bella, Bella, Bella. Bella can kiss my hairy white ass! After 4 movies and change of this self-absorbed twat waffle, constantly looking out for herself and screw anyone else, whining and bitching and moaning until she gets her way, and she always gets her way because, oh, God forbid the heroine should ever not get exactly what she wants without consequence. No, can't have that. After all of this, you, sir, have the balls to suggest we should consider Bella's pain? You know what? Let me show you something. Just take a look at this right here. You see this? You see what's in my hands right now? You see? What you see right here in my hands is all the fucks I give about Bella's pain. After everything she's done in this series, maybe that bitch could use a hot branding iron down the throat. I'll shove it down there myself if you let me. Fuck Bella, fuck her self-serving attitude, fuck everything she stands for. Team Mustache Dad for life. Whew. I think I almost burst a blood vessel. Where were we? So Jacob tells Bella that Charlie will be there in 10 minutes, which means she has to put on some contacts to hide the red in her eyes. How goddamn convenient that they have those handy. She also has to relearn how to walk at normal human speed, even though she didn't have this problem earlier in the movie. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Continuity is not a polite suggestion. Anyway, Charlie is certainly confused by what has happened to him today, and even more confused when Bella is unable to elaborate on what exactly happened to her. But in the end, his daughter is okay, and that's all that matters. Bella, you do not deserve this man. After a tearful reunion with his daughter, Charlie is introduced to CGI Renesmee, whom Edward and Bella claim is a niece they adopted. Charlie doesn't quite appear to be buying it, however.
She's got your eyes, Bella.
Oh yeah, you can't pull a fast one on Mustache Dad.